live and don't breathe, kids. I'll be darned if it isn't time for another episode of Creepy Cheapies with Dr. Lady. I'm Gordon Shumway, and today's episode 8427, I believe. Today's topic is, well, let's just say, whatever you think of the Halloween movies, and maybe you don't think much of the Halloween movies, or maybe you don't think of the Halloween movies much. Whatever you think of them, you have to admit that Michael Myers, he's the bad guy, by the way, in the Halloween movies. Are we clear on that? Okay. Michael Myers is the defining, iconic slasher, mad killer in a mask, crazy boogeyman kind of guy who best represents the genre, and he kind of became a Halloween icon and a horror icon, even though the first movie was just a simple movie about a crazy guy stabbing teenage girls to death. It was done so well, you know, it was so well mounted and scored and photographed and so suspenseful that it was kind of an instant Halloween classic. And Michael Myers, well, he's right up there at the top of, you know, the scary characters lineup, I think. And now you probably already know this, little background here, you probably already know this if you're the sort of person to be watching videos with me in them, but just in case you're new around here, if you're late to the party, the Halloween party, let me just notify you that the mask Michael Myers wears in the original movie is, you may have seen that plain white mask. Well, just in case you didn't know, that's actually an old Don Post Studios mask of William Shatner as Captain Kirk from the original TV series Star Trek. And they just took a ordinary William Shatner Captain Kirk mask and they painted it white, and they tore some of the hair out and messed it up and kind of put some dirty smudges on there and tore the sideburns off. And that might not sound like a great idea when you're trying to think of a scary looking mask, but wow, it was a case of cinema magic when they did that, because they somehow ended up with something that retained all of Captain Kirk's strength and determination, but with absolutely none of his warmth or empathy or understanding. And it was a really soulless, creepy look that made the movie the huge hit, or was one factor anyway that made the movie the huge hit that it was and is. So in every subsequent movie, Halloween part 2, part 3, not part 3, we'll fix that in editing, part 2, part 4, part 5, part 58, part 59, part 2068, you know. He always has a similar mask because they don't want to change him up too much, because they want him to remain recognizable to the wider audiences. And I don't mean grotesquely fat people by wider audience. I don't mean like the really fat people. I mean the more general audience, the broader range of movie watchers. They want people to recognize, oh, that's Michael Myers, when they see a guy with a white mask and dark coveralls, and it has to look similar, but it doesn't always look like Captain Kirk. Sometimes it has a different look to it. They usually just resculpt it, and it's sort of arbitrary. It feels to me like, yeah, this time the lip is a little different, or the cheeks are a little different, or whatever, but it doesn't usually make much of a difference in the effectiveness of the movie. Some of the masks are pretty cool, some of them, nah, I don't care for them as much. I think out of all the sequels, my favorite mask, okay, my favorite mask from any of the sequels would have to be the one from the 2018 Halloween movie, which is simply known as Halloween 2018, or as the hipsters call it out on the playground, H40. This is known as the Halloween H40 mask, or the Michael Myers 2018 mask. Where do we get the 40? Well, the first movie was released in 1978, so 40 years later was 18, which is when this movie came out. And they couldn't think of a good title, so they really just called it Halloween, you know, instead of the previous ones that had a little more than that going on with the title. There'd been Halloween the Return of Michael Myers and Halloween the Revenge of Michael Myers. No, this one was just called Halloween because they kind of gave up trying to. And they even took the coward's way out writing wise, and I hate it when horror movies do this, and a lot of them do it these days, instead of trying to make sense of what came before. They just look at all those previous sequels that didn't make any sense and don't flow and don't have good continuity, and they go, I can't hear you, I got my fingers in my ears, la 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 la. None of those movies ever happened. I'm just going to pretend I didn't know about those last 12 films and write another version. Yeah, they did that, and I don't like it when they do that. But it's still, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I know not everybody liked Halloween 2018, but I thought it was pretty good. It's not, you know, the Citizen Kane of horror or anything, but it's a good, suspenseful, creepy little scary movie to watch on Halloween, and I liked it. And anyway, why do I like the mask from that movie better than the other sequel masks? Well, let me zoom up on him here for you, give you a good look at him. This mask was put out in 2018 by Trick or Treat Studios, and it was sculpted for the movie by Justin Mabry, the guy who is one of the head honchos at Trick or Treat Studios. And there's probably a joke there to be done about head honchos at a mask company, but I don't know. I haven't got time to sort the joke out. You can figure that out later. But anyway, the one used in the movie, sculpted by Justin Mabry and then finished, which is to say paint, texturing, detailing, rip-uppedness, damage, weathering, hair, paint and hair and all that, done by Dick Van Dyke and Admiral Nelson. Or was it Vincent Van Dyke and Christopher Nelson? Well, I'll look that up later. But in any case, that's where the mask came from. The one in the movie came from. You with me? Justin Mabry? Same guy! So, when Trick or Treat Studios acquired the licensing to the mask, obviously they're going to use the real mask. So what it was that you were getting at Halloween of 2018 was a recast, cast from an actual master mask made for the movie, which is pretty great and doesn't happen too often in the world of horror. It does not happen often at all that you can get a mask that's a licensed mask from a popular movie while the movie is still in theaters. And that's what happened at Halloween of 2018, because they managed to get a few of these out just barely in time for Halloween of 2018. And the movie was such a big deal. Those of you who weren't born yet in 2018 won't remember, of course, but those of us who are old enough to have been here in 2018 will remember the stampede, the crazed frenzy of people killing each other in the streets to get their hands on the Trick or Treat Studios Michael Myers 2018 mask. And the movie was a huge release and a huge deal in the media, and such a pop culture icon as Michael, old matinee idol that he is. He was extremely popular, so the product came out kind of late in the season, and the makers of the mask couldn't even begin to keep up with the demand. So many people wanted this mask. Everybody wanted to be Michael Myers at Halloween of 2018. And you know, everybody, I mean, you know that old lady who lives down the street, and she lives alone and she putters around in the garden sometimes, and she has a canary, and she drives a little dinky old car, and she never goes anywhere except down to the grocery store, and then she goes to church on Sundays, and other than that you never really see her out of the house. She wanted to be Michael Myers at Halloween of 2018. That's how popular this character was and this movie was. And there weren't enough of them, and as a result there was price gouging. Some stores were selling these for like 150 bucks. They were going on eBay for, you know, the price of a mid-sized automobile. It was crazy, but there just weren't enough of them. Now the good news is that in these cooler and more rational times, you can get one for closer to the intended price, which is around 60 bucks. And I think that's pretty great for 60 bucks to have a mask that is this good of a replica of the one used in the movie. Now, it became fashionable immediately to get one of these and tear it up, rehaul it, and rehaul became the term. Everybody would say, I don't know why, the kids say rehaul, meaning redid the paint and sometimes the hair. Some people are okay with the hair, some people work on the hair. Now you might ask, why would everybody mess with the paint? Because it looks pretty good. I like the way it looks because it's creepy. The main thing in the movie to me is that the mask was creepy. And I like the way the Trick or Treat Studios edition looks because it has that creepiness. Now, what it does not have is 100% cinematic accuracy in terms of the paint job, which is odd because most of the time in the world of commercial production masks, it's the other way around. And the mask in the movie will have lots of detail, and then the commercial mask you can buy doesn't have as much of that detail showing up. It's kind of the opposite way with this one. In the movie, he looks whiter. I'm not saying whiter, like he's the fat, no, white, not whiter, whiter in terms of less color, because the highlights are more white, and even though the mask is very damaged and cracked and beat up and weather beaten, just like this, you don't see as much of this texture filled in with this little greenish, brownish, gray stuff going on. So when people are repainting it, what they're mostly doing, and this is a great oversimplification, mostly what they're doing is making the highlights whiter so that they show up. The white parts, the parts that sort of puff out, the convex surfaces like his cheeks and brows and stuff are whiter, okay, and you don't see as much of this weathering going on in the highlighted areas. That, and there are some specific areas of damage to the mask that are painted a little bit darker. So you can pay somebody in the mask painting world to do that, and you might think you could get that done for a nominal fee, but it's more like a nominal leg it'll cost you to have that done, because most people in the mask painting world who do a really nice job of that sort of thing really obsess over every little tiny bit of it, and they want to be exactly correct as they can, and it takes a lot of time to do that. I haven't done anything to this one. This is just fresh out of the bag, okay? Fresh out of the bag. And again, I like it because it doesn't look 100%, but it's got the look. It's got, I have to do these, the look. It's got the creepiness. And the reason I guess I like this mask better than I like most of the masks from the previous sequels is that this one, to me, does more than just arbitrarily moving the features around a little bit. This one, I think, captures, well, it's a good summation of the entire cinematic career of Michael Myers. What do I mean by that? Yeah, what do you mean by that? Well, I guess to me, this particular mask, more than any of the others, it captures something of the eerie, dreamlike, quiet horror of 70s movies. It captures a little bit of the do the same thing but bigger and better and with more detail feeling of 80s horror movies. It has a little bit of the sad, wistful, sort of almost nostalgic looking back, going, aw, the sad flavor of a lot of 90s horror. It even has the cracked and broken and damaged look going on that ties it into the Rob Zombie kind of unrelated parallel universe Rob Zombie Halloween movies. And it even has a little bit of the gritty, ugly, hopeless, depressing, nobody gets out alive, everything is terrible, hopelessness and petulance of horror circa 2018. So I think it's quite a mask. I think it's a real work of mask art, and I think it is probably the mask of the year as far as the year 2018. If you care to define a year in terms of a rubber mask. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if you did, I think this would be the one. Now, on the subject of the hair, I should mention that in the movie, the hair is not as slicked back as it looks here. I'm going to pull another one up here for you. Okay, this one, same identical thing right out of the bag. I haven't done anything to the paint. This one, my lovely and charming Halloween fan wife, Laura, just took about, less than 10 minutes to do this, I would say. Looked at the hair on the one out of the bag and said, no, it's too slicked down. It's his in that movie looks more ratty and messed up. So she took some hair gel, okay, and just sort of pinched it, mostly along the hairline, because you don't want it to look like he's got a kinky afro kind of thing going on. It's not curly really, it's just curlier than on the production copies. She took some hair gel and sort of pinched it into little wads and clumps to make it sort of just a little unhealthy and greasy looking. And one thing nice about this is, and only haunters will know what I'm talking about, if you're lighting a scene with this mask in it, if he's backlit, when the hair is slicked down like this, he just has a harsh silhouette. Harsh silhouette. Did I say harsh silhouette? Harsh silhouette. Very solid black line there. But this, when you have the hair kind of pinched out into little individual clumpy bits like this. Remember that cereal? Clumpy bits? Sure. When he's backlit, it looks really cool because some of the lighting goes in between the hairs and just gives you a cool look. So this was something that was pretty easy for Laura to do. It may not be as easy for you, but it will probably be fairly easy. You'll probably be able to do it, I think. And again, not 100% accuracy. It's not exactly the same hair as in the movie or anything, but pretty darn good, I think. I'm impressed, you know. And if you choose to have it repainted with more of the white highlighting going on, or if you choose to have the hair redone or restyled or whatever, that's okay too, because as long as you like it, that's why you should have it in your collection, is because you like it. Now, one more point I should make here is, okay, two more points I should make here this evening. It was morning when I started this episode, but now it's evening. One of several more points that are very important. You know, some of us out there, the general movie-going public just sees Michael Myers and he's a white mask and he looks a little bit like Shatner to them, and they got the idea. Some of us out there, we know which mask is from which movie. Like, I can look at a still of Michael Myers from any movie and I can tell you, oh, that's from part 5, or oh, that's from part 6, or you know, whatever the sequel. And let me just say, we don't do that on purpose. No. It's not like we stayed up late at night cramming for a test the next day about which mask was in which Michael Myers movie. No. It just stuck with us. It just stuck with us. And why is that? That's right. It's because there's something wrong with us. But it just happens, you know. We may have forgotten a lot of what we learned in high school or in college. We might have forgotten, you know, what the capital of Utah is. We maybe can't find Pakistan or Uruguay on a map. We can't remember who invented the pop-up toaster, who invented hangnails. We don't remember a lot of that stuff, but we can tell you which Michael Myers mask was used in which movie, so yay for us. But we didn't do that on purpose. It just automatically stuck with us. So where was I going with that? I don't know. You can figure it out later because you can re-edit this yourself and make a better video out of it, more to your liking, just like you do with the mask when you retouch the hair and the paint of the... Anyway, one more thing I should mention is that, again, there was a great demand for this very cool mask around Halloween of 2018. So it was inevitable that a knockoff, a similar version would appear. Now, what I have right here, okay, and already I'm sorry I did one thing. This isn't right out of the bag because I couldn't resist the temptation to mess with it a little, and I did a little bit of brown rub out on it, which is a paint technique where you throw some paint on something and then you pretend you didn't mean to do that. You go, oh no, I want to clean that paint off of there. So you towel it off. And what happens is the paint sticks in the cracks and wrinkles and not to the highlights where you've scrubbed it off, you see. I did a little bit of that to it, and I wish I hadn't. If I had been thinking that through, I would have left it straight out of the bag. Now this was very common. These sold for anywhere from $15 to $40, usually cheaper, although some people were selling these for as much as the real deal from Trick or Treat. And what this is, okay, it's got sheet fur. It's got, okay, can you see that? It's got fun fur, fabric fur for hair instead of hand-laid hair like the Trick or Treat edition. Okay, if you run into these, you should know this particular edition came from China. And as such, this, okay, you with me? You watching? This mask is the Chinese Halloween edition, affordably priced alternate Shatner shape. Did you get that? That's the Chinese Halloween edition, affordably priced alternate Shatner shape. Just for short, we're going to abbreviate that as, of course, Cheapies. Now, the Cheapies Myers mask was available in several different variations, and okay, I guess I don't have a problem with the fact that it exists because, as I mentioned previously, around Halloween of 2018, it was impossible to get the real thing from Trick or Treat Studios. They were very hard to find, so okay, so the people in China started cranking out their version. And you know, it's really not all bad if you just want something for a dummy on your porch and people are kind of going to know it's supposed to be Michael Myers and it's going to be low lighting, be in the dark or something. As long as you're not a collector and you want a really nice movie prop replica like the Trick or Treat one, it's not that bad for that, okay? And I'm not offended by its existence. But if you're one of those people who offered this for sale at Halloween of 2018, and in the item description, like on Amazon or eBay or one of those places, if you had the words Trick or Treat in there, that is just dirty pool. And you know, if you confronted the sellers, they're gonna say, "Oh, I just put Trick or Treat in there because that's a Halloween term. I used it in the description. There's a company called Trick or Treat. I had no idea." You know, that's how they're gonna justify that. And they didn't admit that it was you know, just something they had put together quickly, and that it was not an accurate movie replica from the same mold used in the movie like the Trick or Treat one, because they even used photos of the Trick or Treat Studios one to sell their, you know, cheaper version. And oh boy, that is just wrong on every level. You know, it's okay that you sold these if you admit what it is. It's not the real Michael Myers mask. It's something for people who don't want to spend much money and can't find a Trick or Treat one or whatever. But yeah, it's just a cheese log version. But if you were trying to pass it off as the real thing and using words like Trick or Treat Studios and that kind of thing and showing a picture, shame, shame. Everybody knows your PIN number. And yeah, I said PIN number, and I know that's not technically correct because the N in PIN stands for number. But everybody says PIN number, don't they? People say that. They say PIN number. Why do we say that? Technically, I guess, to be correct, we should say PI number. That's what we should say, the PI. But I guess we don't say that because it's too complicated, because the PI number is what? 3.14159265359. See, who can remember all that? Who can remember? So we say PIN number, you see, so that's why we don't say PI number. Okay, happy Halloween, and we're done here.